And welcome. Hey, today we will begin to summarize the 8-part series of integrating Pbis and time in that was published earlier on our site here. So now we're going to get down to some of the nuts and bolts. Today, the vocabulary was ultimately created and implemented in a 2-year process with staff and Dr. Kitty Randall. In the latter parts of the 8-part series, you'll begin to really see how this vocabulary was created, the why behind it all. Today is much more of a nuts and bolts practical of time in for schools implementation based on vocabulary. And also, hey, I'm not a professional content creator. I'm just trying to get information out. So please focus on the content and not the production value. This is our pyramid of whole child success. You can read through this as you want, but this was done before every staff meeting so we could see where we were working. And today, obviously, we're working in the behavioral component, but it was a way to take all the pieces of the school and put them into whole child success. So take some time and review this, but today we will be in the behavior section. So specifically, we'll be in the green section of this, and hey, there'll be a whole nother production coming just on the development of this pyramid. So take some time and review it. Okay, so this was actually our first introduction to Kitty Randall. She was presenting at a district-wide presentation and our staff was there. At the time, our school had the most suspensions in the entire district. We definitely needed some work in this area. And she hit a nerve with our staff, and after I approached her, she did have some time to help us develop over the next 2 years the whole process of time in for schools. But today we'll specifically be reviewing the vocabulary of time in for schools, and it's really the nuts and bolts of it all. So I felt it was super important to include this depiction. We had teachers break into groups, and they came up with a poster of what stands out for them in time in, and this was one of them. Right when we feel like pushing them away, that's when we'll be needing to bring them closer together. Don't internalize things. Teachers model vulnerability, etc. Build relationships. Seek to understand. Positive interactions. We can change their trajectories. This was just amazing, and I really felt it was a super good visual representation of time in for schools. Okay, this is a series of questions our staff began to ask themselves because really, before student behavior can change, obviously adult behavior needed to change. So these questions get a little bit personal, but they definitely direct the development of time in for schools and this vocabulary you're about to see. Okay, I will be reading from notes, but as we move into procedural memories, basically as you look at this slide, what they have learned in the past that presents itself under stress or in a classroom environment. You can read that. Knowing this, we can refocus procedural memory for a student that is not conducive to successful learning environment. We can do this through a consistent, predictable, and positive routine, which is the key to time in. Okay, now we move on to engage and disengage. You can read it there. But what I like to visually think is once that conversation with the student is going downhill, not physically, but in your mind, put up the hand. I need to get disengaged with this conversation. I'm not going down the rabbit hole with this student. Pretty simple, but sometimes we get caught in that trap. Okay, we're moving on to clean slate. I love this one. You can read it there. But a clean slate, let's start every day with a clean slate. Maybe it's start a new minute, an hour. This will also be addressed in goals as well. But we always want to give kids an out because they get in this learned helplessness and they need an out. As with all these vocabulary terms, there'll be more to come, but this one in particular, quit taking it personal. Q-tip. So many of us take it personal. When a student says to you, I hate you, we take it personal. We're going to hate them back. Or they call you a name and you don't like it. We have to be the adult and not take it personal. Okay, here you can read about sarcasm. But hey, kids just don't get sarcasm. Some of them don't get it. Their brains aren't mature enough to understand that yet. So they take sarcasm personally. They think you're being serious when you're really just joking. Okay, third point is a biggie. There must be an understanding that correcting behavior is between the rules and the student and not the teacher or school authority and the student. this is done by signs, posters, whatever. I'll put up a sample one. In my classroom, I had the rules posted not only on the four walls, but even on the roof. And I had them numbered. So if a student was not following one of the rules, instead of me engaging with the student, I just point, hey, check out number one. And then that made it the third point. It made it about the sign. So this is a biggie. Want as many third points as you can to stay out of negative engagements. Okay, this is an example of a third point in a school. It was in a hallway. Just an idea when teachers see something going on, they can just point to the sign rather engage. Hey, remember, safety first or whatever. So this is just a quick example of third point. It can be used anywhere. Okay, this is an easy one to implement a strategy that should be used universally throughout the entire school facility. Staff should clearly identify and explain what behavior a student must stop doing, quickly followed by the explanation of the correct behavior the student should start doing. And all classified staff, certificated staff, cafeteria workers, proctors, teachers, and men should all be using this strategy. Of course, this strategy should be used with kindness and love in your heart. Okay, so we must work together. I referred to the pyramid earlier. That was a way to bring the whole school together, everybody involved. But we must have consistent school-wide support. And if anybody is not consistent in that, it's the team, it's the school's responsibility to bring that person in and bring them in consistent for students. Without consistency, we won't have change. And the adults got to change for the students to change. Time in for schools is all about relationships. I go back to that teacher's posters. Make connections, build relationships, seek to understand, positive interactions, change trajectories, forgiveness, fresh start, don't internalize it. Staff model vulnerability and willingness to be frail. I think that sums it up, but in those 8 sections of video, that's all about relationships. We'll be talking about balance next, but service is just a part of that component of balance. A good consequence for students is to give them service, provide a service to the school. Let's say they do some damage to the school, where you can spend some time, cleaning up the school or whatever. We'll talk about more in balance coming up. So balance, time in must be a balance of consequences and support. You can't be heavy on consequences. You can't be all about support. It's got to be a balance. And as we mentioned, service is a good consequence. But we'll talk more about this later, but you got to have that cool balance. And a quick note on consequences. There also has to be positive consequences when students follow the behavior and their rewards that come with that, along with the negative consequences, such as service, as we discussed earlier. Okay, 3 keys: busy students, healthy activities, healthy adults. Busy students, a lot of this is with PLC. You can have varied learning strategies, activities, even varied assessments, extracurricular activities, things like that. Healthy activities. Hey, let's teach students how to cope positively with social relationships, their time management, their social media. And healthy adults. Hey, maybe we need to deal with our time management and our mental health. If we're not healthy, our students won't be healthy. Okay, as you can see, there's 2 types of goals, academic and behavioral. We will absolutely nail academic goal setting with PLC in a future video here on YouTube. But with behavior specifically, a goal could be a minute, 5 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, a month. But if your student isn't giving you the desired behavior and they can only do it for 30 seconds, well, the next goal is a minute. The next goal is 5 minutes. The next goal is 10 minutes. Or it may be a long-term goal. But they can be broken down as quickly as that until you get the desired behavior. Kind of goes along with clean slate, etc. Hey, you couldn't do it this time, but you made it. You made it for 30 seconds. Let's see if you can do this correct behavior for a minute, then 2 minutes, etc. The gift of you means your presence, your personality, and the unique things you bring to the world are valuable gifts in themselves. It's about recognizing that you are one of a kind. Your presence matters. You impact others more than you realize. You don't have to do anything extra. It's a reminder of worth. You yourself are meaningful. You yourself are enough. Okay, with point and need, I'm going to give some actual visual examples as soon as I finish yapping here. But there are great color graphics you can use with students. They have cool colors to warm colors to hot colors and facial expressions. I'll give some examples of these. Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more when we get to those. But this is a really great way to, when a kid is in a meltdown or really needs support at that moment, this is a way to get them back into what you need them to do in school. All right, this is a 5x8 card that we had in classrooms, as you can see, as a point of need. When a student was in meltdown, we can show them this card, have them point to where they were. This is another one. This was a 3x5 that actually proctors used on campus. They had them around their necks, and you can point to how are you feeling, and they list strategies on how you can cope with where you're at. And then this is when we actually had kids write out strategies that they could use for themselves. So these are great strategies you can use to meet students at their point of need. I think what the general is getting at is let's put the organization, the team, or the school above ourselves. Wow, if you've made it this far, you are amazing. Yeah, we're done here. There will be more coming, especially on that pyramid I showed in the beginning. Be sure to check out the 8-part video of the actual training and in-services we had with Dr. Kitty Randall here on YouTube. And there'll be much more in the staff development we used to integrate time in for schools with PBIS. If you want more information on Kitty Randall, her information is time, TIMEINDRKITI.com. timeinDrKitty.com. One more time, TIMEINDRKITI.com. And we'll have much more on third points and really the strategies to help students meet them at their point of needs when they're in meltdown or whatever. So stay tuned, more will be coming. Thank you.